अस्सलाम वालेकुम क्लास, कैसे हैं आप सब लोग। आज हम लोगों का लास्ट लेक्चर है, लेक्चर नंबर 20। और मैंने आपको लास्ट लेक्चर में बता दिया था कि हम लोगों ने क्या डिस्कस करना है। लास्ट लेक्चर में हम लोगों ने पढ़ा था पुअर्टी इन पाकिस्तान। कौन कौन से फैक्टर्स थे जो पुअर्टी को इंक्रीज़ कर रहे थे, पुअर्टी रेट किस तरह से डिकेड्स में चेंज होता रहा है, उसको हमने देखा। आज हम लोगों ने देखना है पुअर्टी इन्वायरमेंट एंड डेवलपमेंट, किस तरह से हमारे इन्वायरमेंटल चेंजेस या सोशल चेंजेस, इकोनॉमिक चेंजेस किस तरह से पुअर्टी को इन्हांस कर रहे हैं और उन्हें किस तरह से कम करने की ज़रूरत है, उनमें क्या चीज़ें लाने की ज़रूरत है। आज हमने ये डिस्कस करना है। स्टार्ट करते हैं अपने टॉपिक से। सबसे पहले जी हमारे पास जो हमने रिलेट करना था पुअर्टी, इन्वायरमेंट और डेवलपमेंट को, हम पहले सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट की बात करते हैं। सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट इज़ अ कॉन्सेप्ट दैट सो फॉर हैज़ eluded a simple and precise definition. The concept arose as a reaction to negative experiences both in developed and developing countries. Past patterns of economic growth have been accompanied by various antinomies. Most importantly, the natural capital stock on which all development ultimately depends has suffered considerable degradation and depletion. Perpetuating past patterns of economic growth would result in ecological collapse. In an ecological sense, sustainable development would call for development patterns that maintain the natural capital stock and overall ecological integrity. Strictly speaking, this would imply that development be based only on renewable resources used at a rate at which they regenerate. A more realistic view places the emphasis on development first and on ecological integrity to the extent that it is important for sustained development. In this view, key ingredients for sustainable development are seen to be education of poverty so as to prevent the poor from causing resource depletion, which calls for changes in socio-political structures. Slowing down population growth so as to relieve the pressure on natural resources. Clean or cleaner technologies to reduce environmental degradation, which would call for R&D investment and environmental impact assessment. Internalization and environmental cost so as to reduce discharge of harmful emission and disposal of hazardous waste, etc. Extent and cause of land degradation. सबसे पहले अब हम वन बाय वन इन चीज़ों को डिस्कस करेंगे जिनकी वजह से पोवर्टी रेट इंक्रीज़ करता है। तो उनको हम डिस्कस नहीं करेंगे जो हम प्रीवियस लेक्चर्स में पढ़ चुके हैं। जो हमने नहीं पढ़ा हम जस्ट उनको डिस्कस करेंगे। लास्ट पे मैं उनकी लिस्ट बता दूंगी जो हम लोग पहले पढ़ चुके हैं। मैं यहाँ पे एक्सप्लेन नहीं करूँगी, जस्ट उनकी हेडिंग्स मैं आपको लिस्ट में बता दूँगी। फर्स्ट वन है जी एक्सटेंट एंड कॉजेज़ ऑफ लैंड डिग्रेडेशन. In the rural areas of the developing world, poverty defined as severe hardship of basic needs, first of all linked to landlessness. According to the recent estimate, 73% of all rural households in the developing countries are either landless or neither landless. Assuming an average household size of 5 to 6 people, that translate 935 million rural people who have too little land to meet the minimum subsistence requirements for food and fuel. To this must be added another 1,000 million people who are living on the borderline of absolute poverty. Land scarcity and amount of population pressure and skewed distribution of land are the prime causes of the landlessness. A second characteristic of the rural poor is that the majority of them have become clustered on low potential land. Pushed into the marginal areas, the poor have no choice but to overexploit resources available to them in order to survive. Survival thus takes precedence over concern for the future viability of the land. Since some 60% of the developing world's poorest people live in highly vulnerable areas, barren and semi-barren lands, steep slopes, and poorly serviced urban lands. The retreat of the poor to fragile lands with low agriculture potential is the result of combination of factors: industrial development and urban sprawl, commercialization of previously common land, modernization of agriculture with reduced labor inputs, and population pressure in previously scattered populated areas. Land degradation. Next one is desertification. Land degradation is reflected in a decline of land productivity due to depletion of the vegetative cover, exposure of the soil to wind and water erosion, reduction of the soil's organic and nutrient content, and deterioration of the soil structure and its capacity to retain water. This process is referred to as desertification. It may be the result of natural phenomena like frequent and prolonged droughts. In recent times, however, desertification has been aggregative by the action of man. Large-scale deforestation and burn, agriculture, overgrazing, and overcultivation of marginal lands are among the main causes. Worldwide, it is estimated that desertification is claiming 6 million hectares of land each year. Deforestation. Desertification is likely to be intensified if the process proceeds unchecked, particularly if cleared land is put to unsustainable use. Deforested land is subjected to soil erosion, which is slowly undermining about the 1/3 of the world's cropland. Deforestation affects agriculture in other ways. It alters the local hydrological cycles by increasing runoff and affecting rainfall inland. Another effect of the deforestation is increasing scarcity of energy and for the poor. Fuel wood and charcoal supply over 75% of the total energy use in several developing countries. In the face of population growth, massive poverty, and landlessness in many developing countries, it is not easy to imagine how deforestation can be stopped and reversed. The problem has, however, received great international attention in recent years, mainly in connections with the loss of biodiversity and reductions of the size of carbon sinks. This attention could be channeled toward new solution of the international sport, like compensation schemes, for instance. Next, water scarcity. Water scarcity is increasing rapidly in most of the developing countries. Asia and Africa are facing the greatest problems. In Asia, water supply per capita is less than half of the global average. In Africa, the situation is mainly one of the underdevelopment of water resources and uneven distribution. Over the years, the limits set for fresh water availability by nature have been worsened by man. Expansion of irrigation and industrial use of water have led to increased water withdrawal. On account of lakes in the distribution system, a high proportion of water is lost. More groundwater has been withdrawn from aquifers than in recharged naturally, with possibly disastrous long-term consequences for agriculture in the barren and semi-barren areas of the developing world. Environmental degradation and rural health. The rural poor mainly suffer from ill health on account of undernutrition and malnutrition. Their health is further affected by various forms of pollution and agriculture hazards. Most importantly, by water pollution, indoor air pollution, and exposure to pesticides and herbicides. High proportion of the rural poor depend for drinking water on water bodies that are heavily polluted. Storm water runoffs carry herbicides, pesticides, and chemical fertilizers, as well as human and animal waste into the water bodies. Rivers flowing through urban areas to rural areas are contaminated with industrial pollutants and sewage directly discharged into the rivers. Diseases caused by microbial pollution of water and related to inadequate sanitation are widespread. Sustainable development of land, both to improve agricultural productivity and to take the pressure off marginal land. Greater attention needs to be paid to the high potential areas. Under optimal conditions, these areas alone could produce enough food to meet the demand of growing populations. High potential areas can be generally sustain intensive crop production as long as exploitation doesn't exceed the regenerative capacity of the soil. Land degradation in marginal areas has occurred primarily because the poor have not been provided with the infrastructure necessary to move beyond subsistence farming and herding, which deplete soil fertility. Some amount of traditional food crops can still be grown on marginal lands throughout new techniques. For instance, the combination of rows of leguminous plants alternated with the rows of annual crops provide organic nutrients that prolong the productivity of acid in fertile soils. Example of these mode of farming exist in many parts of the developing world, but only a small scale. The main challenge is multiplying the successful small scale initiatives, environmental stress, and the urban poor. Urbanization is the most dramatic social and material transformation that has taken place in the developing world. Since the mid-century, the urban population rose by 450 million between 75 and 85, and demographers expect that by the year 2010, some 52% of the population of developing countries will live in urban cluster as compared to 37% in 90s. By the run of the century, the developing world might have 37 cities with a population of over 5 million. Urbanization was initially propelled by rural urban migration. Although this is still important, migration has ceased to be the driving force behind urban growth. The urban poor are increasingly born in the urban areas, and the urbanization has been accompanied by an increase in the number of the urban poor. Over 130 million of the developing world's poorest poor now live in urban areas. Most of the urban poor thus live and work in hazardous exposure situations avoided by the more affluent. An estimated 600 million urban dwellers in the developing world live in what might be termed life and health threatening circumstances. The problem of hazardous waste in developing centuries has been worsened by the transfer of the product and technologies from developed countries. In many cases, it is cheaper to relocate such industries to the developing countries than to meet the increasingly rigid environmental standards and regulations at home. Officially, codes of conduct on environmentally sound management have been signed, but in actual life, such agreements on the national and international level all too often do not reach local decision making. Other points are global warming, national environmental policy, rehabilitation of degraded land, reforestation and afforestation, sustainable urban development, biological diversity and carbon sink, preventing or slowing global warming, mechanism for protecting tropical forest, agreements on air pollution, transboundary movement of waste, support फॉर सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट। ये तमाम वो पॉइंट्स हैं जिनको हम पहले अपने प्रीवियस लेक्चर्स में काफ़ी डिटेल से डिस्कस कर चुके हैं, इसलिए मैंने यहाँ पे इनका डाटा रिपीट करना मुनासिब नहीं समझा। इन सब को आप अपने प्रीवियस लेक्चर से कोट कर सकते हो, इनका डाटा वहाँ से कलेक्ट कर सकते हो। यहाँ तक हम लोगों का टॉपिक भी कंप्लीट हो गया और हमारा सिलेबस भी यहाँ तक कंप्लीट हो गया। अगर किसी बच्चे को कोई प्रॉब्लम हो तो मुझे पर्सनली मैसेज कर सकता है। आप लोगों को जो स्लाइड्स हैं वो व्हाट्सएप में सेंड कर दी जाएंगी। अल्लाह हाफ़िज़ स्टूडेंट्स।